Upcome next, we'll have a second keynote. So we'll actually have Roseanne O'Hare joining us from New Zealand. So in this session, she will be sharing about basically how Microsoft has helped different businesses, communities, as well as individuals to monitor, measure, and charge their sustainability initiatives by leveraging new technology solutions. So let me actually introduce a little background about Roseanne. Maybe next page, please. So here we go. So a bit about Roseanne. So Roseanne is a senior account delivery executive, APAC Sustainability Community co-lead at Microsoft. So she is actually one of the global lead within the Microsoft Worldwide Sustainability Community, and she has a lot of experience actually working across different companies, delivering large programs for work for strategic clients. She is actually based in New Zealand, so she will be joining us like virtually. So I think this is the benefit of us doing a hackathon in a virtual format. We can actually bring in many different people from many different countries to actually share their insights to us and hoping to inspire our participants also from different kind of countries to actually take actions. So Roseanne, can you hear us okay from your side?
I can.
Great, perfect. So I'll pass the time to you and we'll help you control the slide.
Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Hello and welcome from New Zealand. And thanks, Nikita and Thomas, for that inspiring chat. I was really interested hearing about Google's cloud journey. That was awesome. So yeah, thank you for having me here as part of Hack Asia 2022. Sustainability is important to me because I love the outdoors. The smell of cut grass, listening to birds singing, kayaking, skiing, fishing, hunting, and all the great joys that nature provides. Frankly, I don't want to imagine a future where that doesn't exist or isn't accessible. I want a future that my grandchildren and their children can enjoy too. At Microsoft, we have an amazing sustainability community that provides a forum for like minded, environmentally focused folk from every part of our organisation to educate and act on sustainability initiatives like Earth Day, year round hack projects, and lobby for change. I am a program lead for this community and I would like to share some of the hack projects that I've led. But first, let me share Microsoft's sustainability journey. Next slide, please. Oops, we jumped one. Sustainability isn't new to Microsoft. We set our first emissions reduction target in 2009, and in 2012 we made our commitment to be carbon neutral. We levied an internal carbon tax across our business that would help fund our research and introduce innovative technology to become more sustainable. We've made great progress for the last few years, and our cloud business has taken off. So we've had to up our game. We've increased the tax in 2019 to $15 per metric tonne. And in 2020, we announced our intent to expand the carbon tax to cover all of our supply chain or scope 3 emissions. We use these funds to purchase renewable energy and support things like carbon reduction and carbon removal, various water, waste, and climate resilience programs, and our AI for Earth program. We've made steady progress, but we realise that given the size of this planetary challenge, we need to up our ambition. And in 2020, we made significant commitments to guide our environmental sustainability work over the next decade and beyond, because we know that by 2030, society must be well on our way to mitigating and adapting to rapidly changing climates, reducing the amount of waste that we generate, ensuring resilient water supplies, and reversing the ongoing and catastrophic degradation of ecosystems. Next slide. So in 2020, we announced a bold commitment and a detailed plan to operate with 100% renewable energy by 2025 and be carbon negative by 2030. We built on that pledge with a series of industry-leading commitments to be a water positive, zero waste company by 2030 and develop a new planetary computer to better monitor, model and manage the world's ecosystems and protect more land than we use. For our sustainability commitments to make the broadest impact, we need to ensure that the world is working from a common taxonomy and common units and methods of measurement. We're targeting 2030 as a milestone for standardising digitised sustainability data. Next slide. So, on our sustainability journey, we've accomplished some great things, but of course, we could not have done and achieved this without the support of our partners who brought unique ideas to the table, collaborated with one another, and executed bold plans to help land our ambitions and transform our business. Now, customers are asking us what we've learned through our own journey so far. So let's look at a few of our takeaways and consider how these concepts we've incubated can be improved upon and leveraged elsewhere, like our migration to the cloud and what we've done with Azure to make it more energy efficient. So, Azure is by far our biggest area of investment as a company. When we migrated 2,000 applications from on prem to the cloud, not only did we reduce carbon emissions, but we realized dramatic energy savings rather quickly. We were inspired to understand what the impact could be for our customers, and we found that transitioning workloads to Microsoft Cloud services could be up to 98% more carbon efficient and up to 93% more energy efficient than on premise options. What that means to us is that when businesses choose Azure, they are not only selecting a trusted and secure and increasingly green platform, they are actually taking action to reduce carbon emissions just by switching data center operations from on prem to the Microsoft Cloud. And that's a powerful way that IT departments can contribute to the climate goals of any company. So let's take a look at our data centers. Next slide. We're constantly pushing ourselves to be more sustainable, including new server cooling methods to help minimize the environmental impact of physical data centers, reducing energy use while providing higher processing power, and helping to eliminate water consumption. We're experimenting with liquid immersion cooling that is predicted to lower server energy consumption in the future by 5 to 15% at a minimum, while greatly minimizing overall water use in data centers. We've learned that implementing grid interactive UPS batteries, together with adding capacity and reducing the demand on the grid, can make a big difference to help us meet our sustainability goals and reduce our carbon footprint. And switching from traditional diesel to less carbon intensive fuels to run data center backup generators helps us to reach net zero carbon emissions. We're optimizing other systems in our data centers too. We're building first of their kind Microsoft circular centers to reuse, repurpose servers and hardware in our data centers, and diverting at least 90% of solid waste from data centers and campuses, and at least 75% of construction and demolition waste for all projects. We've been experimenting with the concept of underwater data centers, and in July 2020, our Project Natick team retrieved its underwater data center from the seafloor of Scotland's Orkney Islands, launching the final phase of a years-long effort that proved this concept is feasible, as well as logistically, environmentally, and economically practical. The data center ran reliably on a renewable energy grid, supplied 100% by wind, solar, and experimental green energy technologies. It also provided an attractive location for sea life. It was quickly colonized by multiple species of fish and other sea life. Cold seawater can be used for cooling servers without detectable temperature impact a few meters downstream, without tapping critical freshwater resources, and with greater cooling efficiency than air. And servers failed at only 1/8 of the rate of land-based control group, prolonging the life of the computers and reducing the need for replacement components and materials. The efficiencies we're creating through our data center work are sustainability benefits we can then pass on to our customers. Next slide. We're also continuing to optimize our buildings and campuses. In fact, our very first sustainability product was an energy smart building solution powered by Azure IoT, Analytics, and AI. Our initial effort was focused on the Redmond campus, which spanned 125 buildings at the time with 15 million square feet of office and lab space on 500 acres, serving more than 60,000 people. Across the campus, there were multiple disparate building systems with 100 megawatt peak electrical consumption and 60 million annual utility spend. Our challenge was to leverage technologies to manage this more efficiently in order to reduce emissions and energy costs. We put software sensors on almost everything from fire extinguishers to HVAC blowers to lights and to conference rooms. We were able to see all our buildings in a single unified view, understand where problems were happening, and in some cases, solving problems before they happened. By analysing 500 million real-time transactions a day to automate processes and reduce energy consumption, while also identifying and predicting issues and equipment failure. And we've achieved 6 to 10% reduction in annual energy usage with an implementation payback in less than 18 months. Our new Silicon Valley campus features an on-site rainwater collection system and waste treatment plant to ensure 100% of the site's non-potable water comes from on-site recycled sources. An integrated water management system will manage and reuse rainwater and wastewater. And by recycling our water, the campus will save an estimated 4.3 million gallons of potable water each year. And for our new construction projects, we're using the Azure-based Embodied Carbon in Construction Calculator, EC3, to evaluate and reduce embodied carbon, the carbon emitted during construction and our construction materials. And with the help of EC3, we're on target to reduce our embodied carbon by 30%. Next slide. So let's talk about productivity and efficiency. Imagine the carbon savings that I've saved by coming to you virtually from Auckland today. Even before the pandemic, increasingly businesses were using our tools like Microsoft Teams to virtually connect a remote workforce or bring people together, achieving FaceTime through video chat rather than flying or driving to meetings. This creates significant carbon savings when compared to hosting meetings or events in person. Last year, we were able to measure the results of fully replacing an annual in-person event with a virtual event. By hosting one Microsoft event for more than 2,000 attendees virtually, as compared to in person, we are estimated to have lowered carbon emissions associated with that event by nearly 5,000 metric tonnes. This is equivalent to removing almost 400,000 cars from the road for one day, or the equivalent of carbon absorbed over 10 years by planting nearly 150 acres of forest, which is more than half the size of Central Park. Next slide. We're also focusing on the sustainability of packaging. Approximately 300 metric tonnes of plastic are produced every year, 50% of which is used one time, and half of this plastic waste comes from packaging. The scale of this problem and its impact on our oceans and waterways and land requires bold action, which is why we are eliminating single-use plastics from our packaging by 2025. And reduction alone is not enough. So this includes plastic film, primary product packaging, and our IT asset packaging in our data centers, packaging for any cloud infrastructure product that is delivered to or collected from or moved between our Microsoft data centers. We are also working on recyclable service devices by 2030, return devices at end of life for repair, refurbishment, or recycling. Xbox products and accessories will be made of materials that are 100% recyclable at end of life by 2030. And last year we announced the Microsoft Ocean Plastic Mouse, which is made of 20% recycled ocean plastic. Next slide. So we're committed to also working with our partners through our supply chain to meet social and environmentally accountability standards. In 2020, our top suppliers reduced their collective footprint by 21 million metric tonnes of carbon dioxide equivalents, as reported by the CDP. In 2020, we also updated our supplier code of conduct to require suppliers to calculate and report their scope 1, 2, and 3 greenhouse gas emissions data. This data will become an explicit aspect of our procurement processes for our supply chain, including informing buying decisions. And recently, Microsoft joined the 1.5 Centigrade Supply Chain Leaders Initiative, a coalition that aims to encourage small and medium sized businesses to take action to drive down their emissions, which is critical for larger companies they work with to deliver on their own net zero targets. Next slide. So, even as pressures mount for organisations to demonstrate and report sustainability progress, most organisations are still scrambling for actionable solutions. One of their greatest challenges is understanding how to identify, capture, and use data to figure out where they are and what they need to do. And while many different steps are required to achieve sustainable digital transformation, they all rely on having a common foundation that ensures carbon emissions are measured in an accurate, consistent, and reliable manner globally. And if you click one more time, and organisations need a system of record that enables them to see their emissions today and understand if their actions are working. It should provide the business intelligence and insights to further guide reductions with new solutions and technologies. With the right data connections, we can establish a foundation and build more effective roadmaps. We can define and implement more targeted reduction strategies, continually check on our progress, and make data informed real time decisions to move us further, faster. Today, few organisations are able to achieve this transition, though. They lack the tools and technologies to do it in an accurate, efficient, and data driven way. And we simply cannot solve a problem that we can't measure. Next slide. So briefly, we introduced last year our Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability, which is in private preview, which will enable data to be collected and reported from first-party and third-party providers, and will be generally available this FY, with a focus first on carbon and then later with waste and water. Also entering the retail space in 2022 is our Cloud for Retail. So maximise the value of retail data, elevate the shopping experience, create sustainable supply chain in real time, and boost the store partner communications. We're super excited about this, so watch this space. Next slide. I now want to talk to you about a couple of case studies where our customers are using technology to save costs and improve environmental outcomes, starting with India's Sun Mobility. I love this story. Now, to picture this, Umesh Yadav starts up his three-wheeler at 7 a.m. and he hits the road looking for fare-paying passengers. He's one of millions of drivers in India who operate auto rickshaws, known across much of Asia as tuk-tuks, after the loud spluttering noise a two-stroke engine makes as it coughs out a trail of choking blue smoke. But Yadav's machine is different. It's electric, quiet, clean. There are no fumes and no racket. There's no noise. When it trundles through the crowded streets of Gurugram, an urban conglomeration just south of India's capital, New Delhi, that's been ranked as the world's most polluted city. Yadav is part of a small but growing band of electric tuk-tuk drivers who uses a surprisingly convenient subscription service for swappable batteries that could change how we regard the practicality of electric vehicles. So when his auto rickshaw runs low on charge, Yadav simply stops at one of the several battery swapping stations in the city, which are like vending machines for fresh batteries. He taps his NFC key fob to open a compartment in the vending machine and swaps his depleted battery, which is slightly bigger than a shoebox and weighs about 13 kgs, with a freshly juiced one. He pays for only the energy he's used, which is deducted from his electronic wallet that is also stored in the key fob. A few minutes later, he's back driving and looking for fares. It's just like changing a battery in a camera or other devices. So Yadav is able to run for much longer during the day without having to stop for a few hours charging his auto rickshaw. The batteries, as well as the swap stations, are connected to the cloud using Microsoft Azure and numerous built-in solutions like Azure IoT Hub, Azure Data Factory, Cosmos DB, Azure Databricks, among others, that transmit battery performance telemetrics back to Sun Mobility, Customers also have the option of using an app which connects with their EV's battery and gives them real-time information of their battery's performance and the nearest swap station in case the battery is running low. Next. This next story is about the Bueller Group and is about how Microsoft technologies support food safety and reduce food waste. The challenges in the food value chain are immense. Over 30% of all food produced is lost and wasted. More than a third of the world's energy consumption is related on to food production. A quarter of all harvested grain is contaminated with mycotoxins, and nearly 500,000,000 people are at risk of consuming aflatoxin contaminated crops, associated with around tens of thousands of food related illnesses each year. A lack of connectivity, transparency, and traceability in the food supply chain causes food waste and inefficiencies. Bueller partnered with Microsoft to use blockchain to digitize and augment their existing supply chain that was entirely paper based. They integrated physical machines with an AI enabled insights platform to scan each grain and ensure all grains processed are toxin free. By digitizing the food safety process, all parties involved, from the farmer, shipper, granary, miller, processor, retailer, and regulators, can ensure that crops are verified digitally and provide transparency to all parties involved. All parties are simultaneously alerted of any potential tampering or contamination to avoid a public safety issue. This guarantees crop safety from farm to fork. Next. This case study is about a partnership with a bank, a country, and Microsoft. It is a story of how an alliance can help farmers improve crops with access to better information and languages they understand by creating a platform that integrates the latest advances in technology, agriculture, and finance to improve productivity, mitigate risks, and improve agricultural practices to develop a more prosperous, efficient, and sustainable fields in Guatemala. The challenges are considerable, not only for the country, but also on a global scale. The agricultural sector will need to feed a world whose population is projected to reach about more than 9 billion by 2050, implying the need to double food production. However, fertile and arable land is shrinking considerably, and we will have to produce more food with less space and fewer resources, taking care that our activity does not deteriorate the planet. Recognizing that while technology can certainly help farmers, sometimes its adoption is limited because the growing areas usually do not have access to energy or internet connectivity. And farmers are usually not tech savvy or may have difficulty reading and writing or speak languages other than Spanish. Therefore, the Banrural and Microsoft model has a comprehensive and inclusive approach, which allows overcoming these barriers. The precision agricultural model provides information on territory, land, and weather, which is added to tools such as sensors, drones, and satellite images that will provide data for experts hired by Banrural to advise their clients in the agricultural sector and help them make better decisions. Aspects such as soil moisture and its nutrients, temperature, and food storage conditions are part of this novel model. The drones used by the model help farmers map fields, monitor crops remotely, and check for anomalies. AI and machine learning interpret this information, and farmers receive consultancy from their banking agent, who will also use AI to help determine the optimal date to plant crops. And to solve the problem of internet connection, our airband technology is used to bring the internet signal to remote areas. We have generated the contents and recommendations in formats accessible to all, thanks to the use of graphics, videos, and diverse and inclusive content that do not require knowing how to read and write, and that will be translated into 2 main languages. As for the digital skills barrier, we have designed the program so that transmitting this information to the farmer does not require computer equipment, and a basic cell phone with SMS is enough. Next. Many of you will know the fashion store H&M. They are a fast fashion provider with millions of customers around the world. Since it's estimated that anywhere from 30 to 40% of purchased clothing ends up in landfills at the end of its life, the industry has a waste problem. But 95% of all clothes that are thrown away could be reworn, reused, or recycled. So we have been working with H&M to enable a circular ID to track assets over time. And with Microsoft partner Onbori, we helped H&M reimagine its garment recycling program in the US with smart recycle bins powered by Microsoft Azure. As consumers place an item into the recycling bin, the smart bin's digital screen delivers individualized deals to the consumer. And smart scales give H&M consistent visibility into the volume of goods they're collecting. Interactive displays show the amount that the customer has contributed and reports the total amount of clothing collected via the bins, comparing contributed quantities at other locations in real time. Donors can share their experience on social media to encourage other participants and scan a QR code to access information on H&M sustainability initiatives. Bins are integrated with Microsoft Teams, so staff get notifications when the bins need to be emptied. Through the program, H&M is engaging customers, encouraging recycling and reducing overall waste. H&M hope to collect £5 million of recycled clothing through smart bins in the US in its first year. This will then enable the company to plant 100,000 trees in association with the One Tree Planted organisation. Next. My last case study is on Flow. Flow is a great example of a company designed with ESG at the centre of their mission. They are building a digital banking platform committed to sustainability and wellness. Flow, a startup founded by one of the largest Italian banks, wanted to help bank customers add sustainability and meaning to their lives. The bank also wanted to win over a new customer segment, millennials, with a differentiated value proposition that could help beat highly digitized competitors. Flow collaborated with Microsoft Consulting Services to build a banking app that targeted millennials. By integrating educational videos on sustainability, nutrition, and exercise, the startup sought to engage these customers through broader topics. Flow planned a community feature enabling customers to share and compare their efforts and see how their sustainability efforts add to what others are doing. The Flow solution uses Azure AI to monitor every aspect of all customer data, such as credit card transactions, carbon impact, and video engagement. Flow nudges customers into action with insights delivered in small, consumable ways. As well as the great outcomes Flow has achieved, I think this case study is interesting as consumers become more environmentally conscious. They will be seeking technology support to help them identify and select products that are manufactured ethically, socially responsible, and kinder on their environment, right through to how the product will be disposed of at its end of its useful life. I see apps such as Flow coming onto the market that conscious consumers will start using. Consider then what impact it will have on retail stores and what stores will choose to stock and sell. Next. So I want to tell you, finally, add maybe possibly some additional motivation for your hack projects. I wanted to share with you a couple of hack projects that I've led at Microsoft. Each year, Microsoft has a global hackathon where employees come together for 3 days to work on projects or ideas, and all mine tend to be sustainability focused for obvious reasons. It's a competition or challenge sponsored by Microsoft LT, which can lead to new Microsoft products or services. Project Anne came about because we had a drought problem in Auckland. Our dams were at a record low. So we looked at what individuals could do to harvest and use rainwater to take the pressure off city supplies. So using publicly available data from the council's website, we fetched property information and images and used machine learning, AI, and custom vision to train a model and to determine the roof size and pitch, for example, a flat roof or a barn style. We used Databricks to get weather data and water tank specifications and costs, and determined what size water tank an individual could purchase based on rainfall of that property address, as well as provided a cost benefit ROI. And we also built a chatbot to guide the user through that process. Pleased to say that our hack project won the country competition that year. Another project that I'm leading is driving down waste in our offices. We are doing that through IoT sensors on waste and recycling bins and collecting real-time telemetry, displaying this in a Power BI dashboard from the different bins in our Auckland and Wellington offices, while also creating some great competition between the two. Real-time telemetry shows us spikes that we can investigate. It also shows us how much we're wasting. It has helped us to understand our habits and to take action to drive down solid waste and recycling. For example, our Auckland office was peaking at lunchtime with sushi plastic containers and the little soy sauce bottles and wasabi packets being the main culprits. So we purchased recyclable containers, bottles of soy sauce, and tubes of wasabi for employees to use in the office, and we got a marked improvement. We have extended this project further to build a custom vision screen to help identify which bins staff should put their waste into, and there's still more to come. Next slide. So I've got quite a few on here, but the one that I want to talk about is the one that we felt the community and Indigenous stories. Well, sorry, the next project came about as we felt that the community and Indigenous stories about our environment were being lost. Our goal was to give Indigenous and communities a voice on their stories with their interactions with the land so that it can be combined with environmental data sets from the Microsoft Planetary Computer to enhance decision making and help to create a better future for our people and planet. We do this by providing a safe and secure way to share stories. From the videos and written stories we received, we used ethical AI and analytics. We can pull insights like key phrases, words, and locations as overlays onto digital maps. This was combined with other data sets like council resource consents or climate predictions to provide rich information on policy setting and conditions for granting consents. Microsoft Stories of the Land provides a platform or a megaphone for our Indigenous and wider communities. We're pretty proud about that project. And the last slide. So I've come to the end of my presentation. I hope I have provided some insights and innovation to stir your creative juices. So go innovate and create solutions that our future, our grandchildren's children's children will be proud of. Thanks very much for having me today.
Thank you, Roseanne. Thank you. I'm just looking at the chat and we have a few questions for you. And so I'll go ahead and share that. The first question is from Adam, and he wants to know whether you can share a bit about the kind of information that you collect to do the carbon footprint calculations. Could you share a bit about that with us, please?
We have got so much information. What we've got is actually, if you look at our sustainability environmental report, we launched or we publicly produced that last year. And that report is available on our website, and it goes through in detail how we've collected information against all of the areas that we've committed against. And we've provided that, I think, in February last year, and we're just about to produce our next sustainability environmental report. So I urge you to go and look at that report, and it will provide you all the information that you need.
Thank you. And another question here from Renee, and she wants to know more about some of the stats that Microsoft can maybe share on their path to becoming carbon negative and water positive. Are there any stats you can share with us off the top of your head?
Well, apart from the ones that I shared earlier, we've made a huge inroads. I think one of the things that we're aiming to do when we said that we would become carbon negative, that means for us to remove all carbon emitted since we were founded in 1975. So we're making a huge progress on that. And the carbon tax that we have applied to our businesses is one of the ways that we can incentivize and motivate our businesses to think about how they can become more carbon efficient. And it also provides us with a climate innovation fund that we can encourage partners or individuals or startups to come work with us and develop technologies to reduce carbon. And one of the things that we're looking at now is the direct carbon air capture or carbon capture. So that is a pretty exciting piece of technology that our cloud teams are working on right now.